Okay. I'm going to officially make sure everybody's muted and we're going to start. So again, we need 2 blocks, a blanket, and a strap if arms aren't easily able to access feet. We're going to start today by actually lying on our belly. We're going to spend a lot of time on the floor. So our blanket, we can go ahead and discard to the right or to the left. You might actually want to put it pretty high up, actually. And then your strap, if you've got it, optional, no need to worry about that for now. And then blocks, probably we'll just put them off to the side for a moment. And then the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to take heads up, 7-up Nakrasana. So I want your heads towards the top of your space. You'll lie down on your abdomen and then stack your forearms on, or actually stack your hands right on top of each other, and then put your forehead on your hands. Now, the first thing that we're going to do here is I want you to notice, does it feel better to your spine to have your feet hip distance apart? Does it feel better to then turn your toes out and your heels in? Does it feel better to turn your toes in and your heels out? So you'll take that position first. And you're just going to start by allowing more and more of your weight to descend into the floor. And then allow yourself to deepen your breath. So some of you heard, and I'm going to leave you here for a couple of minutes while I chit chat. So some of you heard when you came in, Sandy was asking me how I was going. And again, like I was expressing how much empathy I now have for people, mostly you guys, who would get up early and come to an 8 a.m. yoga class. Reason being, it's like, it's interesting how constantly getting up and going can sometimes just kind of get to you and make you feel a little bit exhausted. And sometimes you just don't want to get going. So today we're going to start with that type of awareness that sometimes that's our reality, and then use that to our advantage to start to open the body, to start to open our heart by first and foremost accepting what is, appreciating what is, and then going from there. So you have 2 more breath cycles here. And as you take these last 2 breath cycles, I want you to notice if you can just deepen the breath just a little bit, soften into your experience just a little bit, and let that be completely okay. Now, as you're ready, you'll start to lift your head up, slide your hands back, and then you're going to slide your right arm out to the right hand in line with your right shoulder. Bring your left hand underneath your left shoulder, and then you're going to start to look to your left. From here, push down into your left hand, and you'll start to roll over towards your right. Maybe that left foot will come behind you, maybe it won't. And then notice what you want to do with your head. You might find if you push down into your right hand, so that's the hand behind you, you can find a little bit of a different sensation happening across the front of your right chest, right shoulder. And you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice here. On your next in breath, you'll gently come back onto the abdomen. Again, heads up, 7-up, hands stacked on top of each other, forehead on top of hands, and just notice what it feels like to be there. Nice work. Take 1 more breath cycle here. And then as we're ready, you'll lift your head. You'll slide your hands back. Your left hand comes out to the left hand in line with your left shoulder, right hand underneath your right shoulder. Start to push into your right hand. Roll your ribs, your shoulders, your hips over towards the left. Maybe that right foot comes down to the floor behind you. And again, notice what it feels like if you really push your left hand into the mat and then isometrically draw it towards your chest, and just feel what you're experiencing on your left pec region. Nice work. 2 more breath cycles here. And then when you inhale, you'll come back onto your abdomen. Now this time, you're going to stack your forearms on top of each other. So you had your elbow or your hands on top of each other. Now you're going to stack your forearms. You might need to walk your elbows forward a little bit and then put your forehead on your hands. So we're gradually increasing our back bend, and you'll just notice what this feels like. It's a little bit higher. Continue to relax around your shoulders and your abdomen and just notice if you notice anything here. And then at the end of this next exhalation, you'll push down into the hands, you'll lift your head, and I want you to slide, or rather, let's start by turning both palms to face the sky. Slide your right hand behind your left, and then start to walk your arms as far apart from each other as possible. Palms face up. So almost like you're giving yourself a giant hug. Some of you will curl your toes under here and then steamroll your body forward a little bit. And we're trying to find a stretch across the upper outer edges of our arms, maybe even between the shoulder blades on the back body. So palms face up, giving yourself a hug. The right arm should be the one behind you, and you might feel stuff happening on, you're good, Sandy, on your left hand. Yep, you're good. And you're just feeling what you feel. And if you don't feel anything, that's okay too. You might need to fidget around just a little bit. And then Barbara, walk your arms as far away from you as you can. Sorry, that was not clear. Right to left. Cool. And then let's gently come out of this. Slide your hands back towards your midline. And then pause for a moment in a Sphinx pose while I show this. So you guys just look at this. It's almost like you're just giving yourself a hug like this, but your arms are straight against the floor. And then hopefully we should feel stuff on the upper outer parts of our arms and then between the backs of our shoulder blades. If you have a chest, you might need to really push yourself forward so your arms don't get trapped on your boobies. Go ahead and try that on the other side. All right. And then you'll just pause and you'll just notice what that feels like. It should be a bit of compression. So we just opened the front of our chest and now we're compressing the front of our chest. And just notice if you can let the head really drop to the floor, if you can really touch the head to the floor and just let the back of the body just open a little bit. This is one of my favorite yin poses. It's kind of fun and also uncomfortable all at the same time. Awesome. Take your last breath cycle here. And then as you're ready, you'll slide your hands back to the center, release your arms, and then plant your hands alongside your rib cage. Separate your feet about hip distance apart. And then as though we were going to come into the slowest, lowest cobra ever, I want you to press the tops of your toenails into the floor. Lightly hug your glutes. And then draw your shoulders up towards your ears, shoulder blades together on your back. Lift your head maybe about 4 inches away from the floor. And you're going to take 4 shoulder circles here. So the shoulders go forward, up, back towards your tuchus, down towards the floor. And just notice what this feels like to just sort of roll your shoulders in this very low baby cobra. And after you've gone 4 circles this front direction, just reverse the direction and just notice how this is feeling. Can you still keep your pubic bone pressing down, your legs engaged as the shoulders are just sort of doing this weird movement? Nice work. All right. From here, let's go ahead and lower down. Okay. On your next in-breath, come back up and let's plant our hands underneath our, or rather our elbows underneath our shoulder and come into Sphinx. Okay, now just same thing. You're gonna pull your hands back, lift your heart up and see if you can breathe here. And then you might drop your right ear over to your right shoulder. And again, eyes are closed, maybe eyes are open. You might turn your chin a little higher to the ceiling or a little down to the floor. You're looking for a stretch happening on the left side of your neck. I find that there's like one stretch and then there's a different stretch. One of them feels like there's a hole of air that pops through. Another one feels like a gentle stretch. So notice which one you're finding. And then you'll inhale and come to center. And then exhale to the other side. So left ear drops towards the left shoulder. And you're just pausing and breathing. If you notice what happens when you turn your chin up on this side or down on that side, and then notice if you want to keep that or change that sensation. Okay. All right, let's come back through center. This time we're going to do a little bit more. So with your left hand, push down, pull your left hand back isometrically, drop your right ear to the right shoulder, engage your feet, press your toes down into the floor. And now this time you might open and close your mouth a few times. You're still pulling back isometrically with this left hand. You're pressing the tops of your feet down. You're breathing. Gently release that. Come back through center, and then we'll go to the other side, dropping the left ear to the left, isometrically pulling back with that right hand, and then maybe opening and closing your mouth a few times, just experiencing what that feels like. Awesome. All right. Next in breath, come back through center. Okay, from here, we are going to go ahead and lower down one more time. I want you to plant your hands next to your rib cage. Press down into the tops of your toes. Pull your heart forward, draw your shoulder blades together, and lift your ears in line with your arms. Now, keeping your legs super engaged, see if you can draw the shoulder blades together on your back just a smidge. And then this time, reach so far back through your legs that your legs start to float up and away from the floor. Hug the shoulder blades together and see if you can lift the chest a little higher. Nice work. Gently exhale and lower down. Cool. From here, heads up, 7 up once again with your hands. Your right knee is going to come out to the right in this weird half frog shape. So your right knee is in line with your right hip. The right knee is also bent at a 90-degree angle, so our right foot is in line. And you're just going to pause here and you're going to breathe. And this is supposed to help with our low back. So if at any point in time you feel like you need to open your low back, this might be a shape for you to come and breathe in. Barbara, lower your head down if you can. Heads up, 7 up. So stacking hands on top of each other. There you go. So this is our resting place. If at any point you're like, yeah, all this is too much. Some of you may stay here. Some of you are going to bend your left knee. With your left hand and your right hand, reach around and grab your left foot. This is that time where if you're like, yeah, that foot's way too far, your strap would go around the top of your left foot. Cool. Listen very closely. I want you to internally and externally rotate your left thigh. So keep your heel as close to your butt as possible. And it's a tiny movement, less than a couple of inches. You're going to find where you find a nice stretch across your quadricep on the left leg. If you want to intensify it, you lengthen your tailbone back towards your left knee and you push your pubic bone down into the floor. Sometimes I find that I have more sensation if I externally rotate the thigh. So it's like the leg is turning out, and then I find the quadricep all across the top of my left thigh. Yeah, fantastic. All right, let's go ahead and come to neutral. Release that left foot. Fantastic. Bring your hands back to your heads up, 7 up style. Take a moment to pause and breathe there. And then as gracefully as you can, you're going to slide that right leg back to meet the left. I know, so awkward indeed. And then you just pause and you breathe and you notice if you notice anything between the sides. Awesome. All right, let's go on. So left knee comes out to the left. Again, left knee is in line with the left hip. Left knee is bent at a 90-degree angle. And then again, maybe your hands just stay, or your head just stays on top of your hands and you stay here. Maybe you bend your right knee and reach around with both your hands to grab your right foot. You draw your right heel as close to your bum as you can. And then you notice what happens if you internally or externally rotate your right thigh. And you want to do it really from the top of the hip because it'll allow you to get those quadricep muscles in the front. There are 4. So the slight rotation of the thigh bone allows you to get a different set or section of the muscles. Does that not make sense, Sandy? There, okay. And then you just pause and you breathe and you notice what you notice. Does your foot feel better to be pointed? Does it feel better to be flexed? I liked mine being pointed, but that's a me thing. It might not work for everybody, so you just choose. And then when you're ready, you're going to gently release the right leg. And then you'll come back to heads up, 7 up with your hands. From there, as gracefully as you can, slide your left leg back to meet your right. Cool. From here, let's go ahead and take 2 breaths and just notice what you notice happening in the back. Notice what you notice happening in the front of the body. Cool. Let's go ahead and bring your hands alongside your lowest ribs. Again, pull the hands back isometrically to pull the heart forward. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears and draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Press down into the tops of your toes. And then you'll see if you can take those 4 shoulder circles here, noticing if they allow a little bit more movement. And just experiencing what that feels like. And then when you're ready, you'll switch directions. As you're moving the shoulders, make sure you're still lengthening through the legs, pressing your toenails down, maybe even engaging the abdomen to keep the low back long. Awesome. Cool. From here, let's slide our hands forward back to Sphinx pose. Cool. Let's grab our blocks. Now, we've got 2 options. You can keep it on its lowest setting or put it on its highest setting, but you are going to put your elbows onto your blocks. So depending upon how Sphinx pose feels for you, if this already feels like a lot of a back bend, you're probably not going to want to go balls to the walls. If you're like, yeah, Jessica, that's fine. So you choose based on what's going to work for you. And then you're going to put one elbow on one block, the other elbow on the other block. Cool. Now this is the weird, awkward part. You're going to shimmy your butt back and away from you so that you can find that weird, like Anahatasana reverse prayer shape here. And it's just going to stretch your latissimus dorsi, so the muscles that go roughly from your armpits down towards your back. And you're going to push your palms into each other and just notice what this feels like as a gentle stretch on the back body where you're not having to worry about overarching the spine. You're just seeing what it feels like to stretch your lats here, maybe even your triceps, depending upon how high you lifted your blocks. Cool. All right. Let's go ahead and gently lift your head and as gracefully as you can, walk yourself off your blocks. Cool. While you're looking, this next one is going to be a bit confusing. Your left hand is going to come forward. Your right hand is going to come right next to you. Your head is going to come back down to the floor. Your right leg is going to go to the right, back to that half weird tree position. Fantastic. With your right hand, you're going to push enough to slide your left hand over towards the right. Cool. With your right hand, you're going to bend your left knee, grab your right foot with your left hand. Now your forehead can come back to the floor again. You can really keep drawing your left heel towards your pelvis and just feel if this is slightly different in terms of the quadricep stretch that's happening on the front. And again, if you lengthen your tailbone back to the left knee, that's fun. Now, some of you, you'll just stay here for the next 10 breaths or so. You'll be happy as a clam to do this. No need to do anything else. If you're like, yeah, Jessica, I'm up for it. We are going to roll towards our back. So the left hand is going to stay on the floor. Your left shoulder is going to come to the floor. Your right shoulder is going to come to the floor. And suddenly your face is looking towards the sky. Now your left hand comes to your right thigh. From here, you might reposition, meaning draw your left shoulder a little bit more towards the right, and suddenly you found yourself in what is called twisted cat. Hooray, we made it! Fantastic. And then you're just going to breathe. The more that your left shoulder goes to the right, the more of your right shoulder you can get to the mat. And then the more that you can draw your top hip, that's your right hip, away from you, you'll feel this elongation happening across the top of your body. Awesome. And you'll just take 3 to 4 more breath cycles here and just notice what you notice. Okay. At the end of your next exhalation, listen very closely. You are going to let go of your foot. So the right foot is going to release, the right hand is going to release the left foot. The left hand is going to come back towards the right. Your right hand is going to come over towards the right. And then we're just going to reverse engineer everything that we did. So your left arm comes forward. The right leg goes back. The hands stack back, and you can either take Sphinx pose or you could take heads up, 7 up, but you're just going to take a few moments to let the body unwind. We did a lot of twisting, a lot of back bending there, surprisingly. So just notice what you're noticing in this moment. And then let's go ahead and try the other side. All right, so come back to Sphinx. Extend your right arm forward. Plant your left hand right next to your left shoulder. Slide the left leg out to the left. Now from here, you're going to take the right hand over to the left and then see if you can bend your back knee. So that's your right leg. Take your left hand to grab your right foot. And you might just let your head fall towards the floor. So this is still repeating, actually, a lot of the shapes we've already done together, just in one weird thing. And you might be happy to stay here for the next 10 breath cycles or so, happy as a clam. Otherwise, you might start to roll towards your back. So your right hand will still reach towards the left. Your right, there we go. We're going to roll towards our right. Your left hand might then come to the top of your right thigh. You might push down into your skull, slide your ribs over towards your left so that your shoulder on the left can come towards the floor. And you just pause and you breathe. Your top hip will come away from you, so it almost feels like you're arching your spine just a little bit, and you pause and you breathe, and you pause and you breathe. You can really see if you can breathe across the abdomen, the low abdomen. When you're ready to come out, you're going to release your foot. You slide your right hand back to the left, your left hand back to the left. Reach your right hand forward, slide your left foot back, and then come back to that heads up, 7 up style Nakrasana, and just take a few moments to pause and take a few moments to breathe. And just notice how you're feeling. Okay, let's add on. Bring your hands alongside your hips, palms face down. Draw your shoulders towards your ears, draw your shoulder blades together on your back, and lift your head a couple inches away from the floor. Now from here, you'll see if you can hug the shoulder blades together even more. Press down into your toes and then reach your toes so far back that they float up and away from the floor. Bend your elbows a little bit and isometrically pull your mat forward to lift your chest a little higher. And you'll just pause and breathe here in this weird, like, locust pose. Fantastic. And then if you'd like, you're going to start to bend your knees and draw your heels towards your butt. So you're still lifting your chest, you're just feeling your glutes and hamstrings fire. And then we'll gently extend the legs long. Maybe lift the chest a few more inches, really lengthen the tailbone back, and lower down. Heads up, 7 up, pause. Nice work. Okay, let's add on. Go ahead and slide your right arm out to the right, arm in line with your shoulder. Now this time I want you to turn your palm to face the sky. So we're internally rotating the arm. So the palm is facing the sky, back of the hand is on the floor. Left hand is going to come to the left. You're going to push down into your left hand and roll a little bit to the right, planting that left foot behind you. And so with the palm facing up, this is a different stretch, and you just notice what's happening here. So Barbara, it's still at a 90-degree angle if possible. So same chest stretch that we take. Cool. And then gently come back onto your stomach. Draw the right hand back. And just take a moment to notice what you're noticing in the sides. Cool. Let's go to the other side. So walk your left hand out to the left. Normally, we would have our palm face down. Now, you'll notice that you'll internally rotate it. So your left thumb will come to the floor, your palm will face up, and notice how the other way, Barbara. There you go. How that feels. Right hand stands next to you, and then you'll start to roll to the left. So we're trying to prep towards Dhanurasana, and you'll just notice that technically that's the shape that this is in, and you'll just notice how that feels here. It's a different stretch on the shoulder. It's a different stretch on the neck and the pec. Great. And then when you're ready, you'll gently come out of that, come back to center. Okay. Let's bring our hands alongside our ribs. Press our toes down into the floor. Lengthen your tailbone back as you draw your shoulders up towards your ears, shoulder blades together on your back. Now from here, you're going to isometrically pull the hands back to lift the chest and the heart a little more. Then reach back through the toes until the legs lift up. And then this time, let's see if we can hover our hands away from the floor. Now you're going to slide your hands back so they're about an inch behind your nipples or where they normally would be. Start to hug the shoulder blades together, bring the legs to the floor, push down into the arms and lift as high as you want to into your upward facing dog pose. And you just pause, the shoulder blades are on the back of the body, legs are super active. Cool. Go ahead and reach the chest forward and lower all the way down. Pause and rest. Pause and rest. Okay. Adding on. Let's go ahead and slide our right leg back to that half tree pose. The right leg comes back to that half tree pose. Hands will come next to your rib cage. You're going to draw your shoulders up towards the ears, draw the shoulder blades back on the back body, press down into your left leg, pull your heart forward and bring yourself up into your weird downward facing dog. Now, the stretch that's going to happen is on the left side, and it happens by taking your gaze towards the right. So the more active you can make your back leg, your left leg, and you just sort of let the shoulders and the rib cage twist towards the right. We're looking for a stretch that goes up the front of the body from the hip, maybe to the low ribs on the left side. Are we finding that? Yes, no, maybe so. Yes, okay. And you just pause and you breathe. And we're saying hello, psoas and iliacus. And then we'll gently return, come back down, lower back down. Before we try that, did that make sense? Yeah, okay, cool. Before we do that again, we're going to center our bodies. So hands come back alongside your hips, palms face down. Extend the tops of the feet. Press the pubic bone down, draw the shoulders up onto the back body. Reach the heart forward. Pull the hands back to see if you can lift the chest a little higher. Then float the toes back. Now this time float the arms up. And you'll pause and you'll breathe here for 3. You'll pause and you'll breathe here for 2. You'll pause and you'll breathe here for 1. Lower down. Cool. Bring your hands alongside your ribs. Oh, let me let you pause for a second. I'm sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Pause and just let your back come back to neutral. Okay, let's move on. Hands come next to the ribs. Left leg goes to that weird left leg tree thing. And then again, activate your right foot. So let that leg really help you as you push down through the hands, pull heart and sternum forward and through, lift up to this weird, I don't know, upward dog thing. And then the more you keep your back leg active and you look over your left shoulder, left ribs can rotate as well. You'll find a fun stretch. And you're just pausing and you're breathing and you're saying, whoa, or maybe you're saying, I don't feel it. And if that's the case, let me know and we can adjust. Whew, nice work. And then you'll gently unwind, come back, release the left leg back, heads up, 7 up. Take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Cool. Let's go ahead and extend your right arm forward. Okay, let your forehead still stay on the mat if possible. If my instructions don't make sense, I'll try to fix that. Bend your left knee. With your left hand, grab your left foot. Cool. First thing you're going to do is just see how close you can get your heel to your butt to your heel. Notice if you need to adjust your tailbone. So like I feel like I have to lift the fronts of my hip bones up and the length of my tailbone back. Now I want you to kick your left foot into your left hand and just feel what that feels like. Left foot into left hand, left foot into left hand. It really can come away from you as maybe the thigh lifts away from the floor. That's totally fine. Cool. Gently release that. Let's try the other side. So now your left hand comes forward. You bend your right knee. With your right hand, you grab your right foot. And then with your heel as close to your pelvis as possible, maybe you have to lengthen the tailbone down towards your foot. And then kick your foot into your hand. So now maybe the thigh comes away from you. Maybe the foot gets, I don't know, 2 feet away from your tuchus. How far can you kick the foot away from you? So you're in this weird half bow shape. Okay. Gently release that. Cool. Let's go ahead and come back to Sphinx pose. Now, this time I want you to see if you can trace an imaginary line down the front of your body to your belly button, to your pubic bone, as far down as you can. So you're just to look underneath yourself and see how far you can go. You lift the pelvis as you go, you press the forearms. And then you come back out. We're going to do about 10 of these. So hands are shoulder distance apart. You exhale most likely as you curl in and look underneath you. And you inhale and come back up. Have you do a few more of those. Here's your sneaky core work, Erica. And the more you can push the forearms down and round through the upper spine, yeah. Okay. And really, Sandy, can you round through more of your upper back as you do that? Yep. Meaning you push down more through the forearms and lift more of your torso away from the floor. There you go. There you go. Does that feel different? Does that feel harder? Okay. All right. And after you've done 10, you're just going to pause and you're going to breathe in the rounded shape. So you're going to look underneath you. I want you to feel like you can scoop all your organs away from the floor and breathe for 5, for 4, for 3, for 2, for 1. Release. Come back to the Sphinx pose. All right. Cool. Let's add on. All right. So our right hand is going to come forward once again. Our left knee is going to bend. Our left hand grabs our left foot. So now from here, I want you to extend out as far as you can through your right hand, your right foot, your left hand. And you're finding yourself in this one arm, one leg bow pose on your asana. And you just pause and you breathe. You pause and you breathe. Fantastic. And gently release that. Take a moment and heads up, 7 up, and just notice what you notice between the sides. And then we'll try that on the other side. So your left hand comes forward, your right knee bends, you grab your right foot with your right hand. And then again, you reach out through your left fingertips, back through your left toes, back through your right toes, and lift your spine into the half bow. And you pause and you breathe for 3. You pause and you breathe for 2. You pause and you breathe for 1. Gently lower down. Okay? You just notice what you notice, how the body's feeling, how the breath is working. Cool. Let's move on. Bring your hands alongside your hips once again. Draw your shoulders up towards your ears. Draw your shoulder blades together on your back. Now, This time, really see if you can lengthen your tailbone back, draw your pubic bone up towards your sternum, draw the shoulder blades onto the back body and lift your head. Now from there, reach so far back through the toes that you can lift the legs. Bend the elbows a little bit and draw the heart forward. Now we're gonna bend our knees and see if our heels can come close to our butt. Great. Now you're gonna float your arms. Some of you will stay here actively pulling your heels towards your butt. Some of you will bend the knees even more to grab the tops of your feet. Some of you will then start to push your tops of your ankles and your hands into your ankles and lift in this minor bow pose for 3, for 2, for 1. And then we're going to reverse it. So if you grabbed the ankles, gently release the feet. Then you'll gently straighten the legs. Then you'll lower the hands. Then you'll lower the chest. And then you go back to heads up, 7 up, and you're like, God, Jessica, that was not fun. And then you just take a few breaths. Heads up, 7 up. Few breaths. Few breaths. Okay. And then we'll return ourselves back to our Sphinx pose. And we're going to take round 2 of that core thing. So with your hands parallel to each other in that number 11 shape, again, you're going to curl through the spine, lifting bone by bone up and away from the floor. And you're going to take about 10 of those. And you're just going to notice what that feels like. So we just really opened the back of the body, front of the body. And we're going to see if we can just find a little bit of stability around that. Cool. And we'll take about 3 more. You're just feeling what that feels like. Every time you round under, you're just scooping your organs away from the floor. And this next one you take, you'll just hold for 4 breath cycles. And then when you're ready, lower all the way down, heads up, 7 up, take 10 breaths. 10 long, steady breaths. And just check in. We haven't technically left our stomach the whole freaking time. Well, we've kind of twisted, but mostly we've been on our tummies, and just notice what you notice happening right now. Sometimes I think that we fight ourselves, and by we, I mean there's certain realities that we just don't always necessarily want to deal with, but the more that we can accept them as they are and just be present to them as they are, they start to change, and we in turn start to change with it. And so as you're here, just notice what aspects of this moment of your body happen to just be evolving or changing as we go along. All right, 2 more breath cycles. Okay. Let's go ahead and add on. So let's bring our hands back to alongside our ribs. We'll draw our shoulders up towards our ears, draw our shoulder blades together on our back, and lift our ears in line with the tops of our shoulders. Then extend back through your feet again and reach back so far through the toes that they lift up. And notice this time it feels like you can pull the hands back and maybe lift the chest a little higher. Okay, now if you went a lot higher, see if you can keep that as you release your hands. Slide your hands back a little bit more and pull yourself forward into upward facing dog. Legs are super duper active. And notice how this feels. Is the chest still open? Are those legs active? Nice, long breath. Cool. And then we're going to bend the elbows, reach forward, come down. Cool. Right leg goes out to the right. Weird half little tree shape. Again, pull your heart forward and through, coming up to that. I need to come up with a name for this. One of you needs to come up with a name for this. And then we're going to turn again and look towards our right. Left leg is super active. Top of the left foot is really pushing down into the floor. You are really looking over that right shoulder and finding a nice elongation happening on your left side. And you might even notice if you lengthen the tailbone back towards your left foot, it intensifies what you feel on the left side. Awesome. We'll gently release. Come back through center. Slide your left leg back. And then let's try the other side. So left leg comes out to the left. Pull your heart forward and through. Come up into, I don't know, tree dog. I don't know what we would call this. And then again, look over your left shoulder. Top of the right foot is pressing into the floor. Right leg is super active. All right. Come back through center. Reach heart forward. Lower the foot back. Cool. Rest, heads up, 7 up, and pause and breathe. Ugh. Okay, this one's not fun, and I apologize in advance. Let's bring our arms in front of us in a little V shape. If you find that your arms are too heavy here, you can bend the elbows and put your hands on your head, okay? So you're gonna reach your heart forward, draw the shoulder blades together on the back, reach the arms forward, reach the toes back, reach the legs up for Superman and Superwoman, and maybe you lift the legs a little higher, maybe you lift the chest a little higher for 3, for 2, for 1. Exhale, lower down. Cool. Pause and breathe, and pause and breathe. Cool. You have the option of completing that one more time if you wish to. The other option that we're going to take is going to bring our hands alongside our hips. So if you want to do Superman, Superwoman again, by all means, you do that. Otherwise, we're going to bring our hands alongside our hips. All right. If you're taking a super person, by all means, take your super person. If you're not, please follow me. You'll draw your shoulders up towards your ears. You'll draw your shoulder blades together in the back, and you'll lift your chest. From here, you'll reach back through your feet, hugging or lengthening the legs away from the floor, and then you'll open the feet about 2 inches and hug them in. And we're going to stay in whichever position we're in for about 5 breath cycles. So if the hands are on the floor back behind you, you're opening and closing the legs with the breath. If you're in Superman or Superwoman, you're probably just staying very still with the legs, but we'll breathe for 3. We'll breathe for 2. We'll breathe for 1. And gently release. Cool. Take a moment to breathe. Okay. All right. Last thing. Well, for here at least. Hands alongside your hips. Pull your heart and sternum forward. Draw the shoulder blades together on your back and lift your chest. Really lengthen through the legs. Lengthen the tailbone back, and then see if you can reach the feet so far back they float up. And then see if you can bend your knees and draw your heels towards your pelvis. Then draw the shoulder blades together on the back and float the arms up. You might grab the tops of your ankles. You might not. If you do, you might kick the feet back and see if you can lift up into Dhanurasana and see if it goes a little bit more this time. If so, great. If not, great. You might choose to lower just a little bit and roll to your right side and feel what that feels like as you're in this Harsva Dhanurasana. And if you've done that, you'll breathe there for a few cycles. Then you'll come back onto your belly, be in Dhanurasana for a little bit. And then you'll roll to your left. And you'll pause and you'll breathe there for a little bit. And then when you're ready, you'll come back through center. Gently release. Find yourself into Krasana, heads up, 7 up, and pause. Heads up, 7 up, and pause. So Barbara, lower your forearms to the floor and your head to your forehead, or head to your hands. There you go. Cool. Some of you will stay here. Others of you are going to make your way to your first downward facing dog of the whole day. Now, when you go to downward facing dog, if you choose to go to downward facing dog, just notice what's happening in the backs of your legs here. And then notice what's happening in your spine here. So it feels like there's an elongation happening in the spine, which feels nice. But then your legs are like, wow, all that engagement in the back body makes the hamstrings feel a lot tighter. So you just pause and you breathe. Okay. Awesome sauce. Go ahead and lower your knees to the mat, and we'll sit for toe squat. And you just notice what it feels like here, making sure all 10 toes are tucked under. Maybe softening the gaze or closing the eyes and just experiencing what the energy is feeling like in your body. Cool. All right, let's go ahead and come forward. Tops of the feet to the floor, pitter patter your toes if you'd like for a little bit. And then once you're complete having that little temper tantrum, you'll just sit on top of your shins in Vajrasana. Hands will come back behind you and we'll lift either one end or both knees up and away from the floor. And then some of you will choose to maybe walk your hands back a little further, slide your tailbone forward, and maybe hang out here for a bit on your forearms. So we did a lot to sort of open up the front of the body here to do the back bend. So hopefully it shouldn't feel like this is too egregious on the spine. Okay. And then if you went down, slowly come up. Okay, heads up, 7 up. This one, I shouldn't say it that way because that's a confusing cue. This is going to be weird. You are going to walk your knees as far apart as possible, keeping your big toes to touch. So I do encourage you to take one at a time so you don't wonky out your knee joint. And then you're going to start to walk forward. We're looking for a stretch across your pubic bone into your inner thighs, your adductors. And it's in this very weird, wide child's pose. And so if you found that there and you're happy as a clam here, just stay here. Just continue to breathe here. If you're like, Jessica, I would like a little bit more, you're going to shift your weight forward just a smidge. Your legs are still pretty wide and open your feet out. So your feet are aligned with your knees. And suddenly we found ourselves in frog pose. So to get to frog from that wide-legged child's pose, your legs literally had to go out as far as they could go. There we go. And you pause and you breathe. And if you were in frog and you're ready to come out, you'll walk your feet back towards your midline. You walk your hands back underneath you. And then as weird as this is, you start to walk your feet in towards your midline. Cool. Did that go okay? Okay. Grab your blanket. So for some of us, this is all we will need. You will just have your blanket. If it starts off like this and it's standard fold, you fold it in thirds. You can also fold it in fourths. It depends upon how much support you'll feel like you'll need. I'm quite happy with third. You might be like, yeah, I want more. More is okay. So this is why we have that blanket. We want to make sure that we've got something to support us. And if possible, can you fold your blanket in such a way where it's as long as your spine? Yeah. Thank you, Jenny. Okay. Now we're going to sit on our blanket and take hero's pose. So we've been doing all that crazy stuff with the thighs to try to open up our hips so we can sit for hero's pose. So the blanket is going to literally come right behind my butt. My butt is going to sit on the blanket. But before you go there, you might want to grab the flesh underneath your calves, move them wide, and sit your butt back. So we've got this space. If you're like, yeah, that doesn't work, the blanket can be folded up a little bit and it gives you more height and it will help you feel sufficient. Great. Okay, so some of you will stay here. Some of you might take your blocks. You'll put one block behind you on the highest height, the second block on its lowest height. The second one on the lowest height is the one closest to you. This one will go under your shoulders. This one will go under your head. So you might choose to do that. So again, first block, you'll lift your pelvis, you'll slide your pelvis forward, put the first block underneath your head, underneath your shoulders, second block underneath your head, and you'll find where you can stay here in this Supta Virasana shape. And let's see, how are we all doing? All right. You seem happy there. If you're like, you want a little bit more, you will remove the blocks and lie down completely on your back, sans blocks. So if that is something you can do, come up, remove the blocks, and then lie back down. And by can do, meaning you want to do and should do in this moment, not whether or not you have the capacity, that's not as important. And then you'll just pause and you'll breathe. And you'll just notice what you notice. How's the breath? How's the body? If you're completely on your back, you might reach your arms up and over your head and clasp opposite elbows. And it just then gives you a shape where we're now taxing literally most of the joints in your body. Cool. And then you just pause and you breathe. So arms only go up and overhead if your body's on the floor. If your torso's not on the floor, bringing arms in overhead, probably not such a good idea. There we go. And then when you're ready to come out, you're going to slowly come out the way you went in. Okay. Now, listen very closely. So if we're sitting in Virasana, I want you to grab one ankle at a time and bring the foot in front of you, keeping the knee bent, and the other one keeping the knee bent. Cool. And then from here, let's extend our legs long. All right, finally, we're sitting up. Hooray for us. Okay, now we're going to sit and just see how it feels to be here in Dandasana, staff pose. And we want to see if we can pull our toes back towards our knees and sit up as tall as we can through our spine. Nice job, people. Okay, moving on, let's bend both knees. Slide your left leg underneath you to the right. Slide your right leg to the outside edge of your right thigh. Now you're going to push down, lift your pelvis up, slide your butt a little bit to the right, and put your butt back down. Now hold your right leg with your left hand. Left hand, you might be on block, right hand might be on block, might be on floor, but you're going to push down into the right hand and lift up through your rib cage. Then press your right knee into your left arm, pull your left arm into your right knee, and start to rotate towards the right. And the more you can push your right thigh knee into your left arm, pull your left arm into your right thigh, you might feel more of a sensation around your greater trochanter. That's the bony protrusion on your right hip. And then again, you're scooping the belly on the right side, wrapping your left shoulders towards the right inner thigh, maybe lengthening up through the skull a little bit more and gazing towards the back of your space. Nice. Okay. 2 more breath cycles here. And then gently, we'll come back through center. We'll unwind. Your right leg will come back to the right. Your left leg will come out. Take a moment to feel Dandasana and just see what that feels like. Maybe point and flex the toes or circle the ankles if that feels good. And then we'll try the other side. So again, bend both knees. Right leg slides under, so right foot is outside of left hip. Left foot crosses over. And push down, slide your bum a little bit to the left and put it back down. And then again, we're going to wrap our right arm around our left thigh. Left hand comes back near our left hip. Maybe it's on a block, but you're going to push down into left hand, lift up through spine, push left leg into right forearm, pull right forearm into left leg, and rotate your rib cage towards the left. And you just notice, can you sit a little taller through the chest region? There you go. And you pause and you breathe. And you pause and you breathe. Scooping the belly on the left side. Awesome. On your next in-breath, gaze comes back through the center. Unwind the spine. Uncross your left leg. Uncross your right leg. Go ahead and extend both legs long in front of you. Cool. And our last thing, just because we haven't done anything for this all day, let's go ahead and open our legs out for Upavista Konasana. Again, you've got your blocks if you feel like your torso is longer than mine, which is probably true for most people. We're going to take a side bend first towards our right. So if needed, that block can become support. Otherwise, you might just lower your right forearm down to the floor, cascade your left arm up and overhead, like you're making a fun little rainbow. And we're just looking for a stretch here along our ribs, our intercostals, all the way down to our hip. And you'll notice that you can play with how much weight you give your left sit bone or not, and making it a little heavier changes the sensation versus making it a little lighter. You just feel how that feels for you. Nice. And when you're ready to come up, left arm comes up. You come back through center. Take a moment to just notice how you feel between the sides. And then if needed, switch your block to the other side. And we'll go to the other side. So left arm comes to the floor, right arm cascades up, bend overhead. Hooray. And we find a little rainbow going to the other side. And again, as the right hand goes over to the left, notice what's happening on your right hip. If it's heavier, that's one sensation. If it's lighter, that's a different. And you just pay attention to how that feels. I feel like sometimes I really actively want to root my right sit bone down because it just feels different. And other times I want to just let it float up if it wants to. So you just pay attention to that for you. And when we're ready, right hand comes up and we come back up. Hooray, take a moment to pause and take a moment to breathe. Cool. And last thing, our legs are going to come back and just notice what that feels like. Hands will come back behind you after you shake and wiggle and do anything else that you need to. And then we're going to find our moment in the sun, flapper girl. So hands pull back, heart lifts up, chest lifts up. Take a moment to take in the sunshine, take in the breath, take in this moment. Cool. And then gently come back to neutral. All right, so today we're going to end with something kind of weird. Heads up, but the whole class has been weird, so hopefully that's not too unexpected. So we're going to cross our legs in Sukhasana. And I shouldn't say weird because maybe it's not weird, but it is something we've never done before. You might sit on the blanket, you might not. It's totally up to you. This is a Kriya practice that I learned from Sierra Hollister. Kriya is an energizing technique. This one is supposed to help us see the inner beauty of things, and it's pretty simple. I liked it. I was surprised at how quickly it transforms things. So you're going to sit as tall as you can in the spine. Your hands come to Anjali Mudra. And that cue that I always give about the thumbs pushing into the sternum and the sternum pushing into the thumb bones, you really want to feel that. So that's our first thing. We push our palms into each other. We really root the thumbs into a sternum, sternum into the thumbs. Now circle your shoulders up, back, and down. And then paying attention to your head, we're going to lower our chin till it's parallel to the floor and then slightly draw our hyoid bones, that's the floating bone, back until we find a slight Jalandhara Bandha here. And then either soften your gaze or close your eyes. But all you're going to do here is just pay attention to how deep you can make your breath in, how deep you can make your breath out as you continue to keep equal pressure into both hands, as you continue to push your sternum into your thumbs into your sternum, and then the shoulder blades sliding down the back. So all you have to do is just breathe. Spine is long and breath is full. And as you're doing this for the next few moments, the invitation is to really keep that slight throat lock, Jalandhara Bandha, so the hyoid bone floating back. The reason that's important from a subtle body perspective, an energetic perspective in yoga, is it keeps the energy from flying up into our heads and allowing our thoughts to run away with themselves. And instead, it draws the energy back down. It keeps it centered more in our heart space, where you can feel your thumbs. It keeps it more contained with our inner knowing. And so we're going to breathe here for another 4 minutes. And I just want you to notice what you notice. Keep pressing the hands in equally. Keep your spine as long as it can be. And then retain that slight throat lock. As you continue to deepen the breath, notice if you notice any energy starting to percolate. Notice if you notice any spaciousness starting to come to the forefront of your awareness. Notice if you notice any part of the body getting tired. It's very amazing, but it seems to see the inner beauty in things. It sometimes takes a little bit of tapas, a little bit of heat. It sometimes takes a bit of that discipline, that commitment to stay with something, even though it's not always easy. It takes the slowing down and the focusing on the very basic aspects of presence. Continue to stay with your breath, to sit tall through your spine and to keep the heart open. See how full you can make the breath. Maybe it goes all the way down to your pelvis for complete inhalation and for complete exhalation. Nice. At the end of your next exhalation, take the biggest inhale you possibly could take. Hold the breath at the top, let it suspend, and just notice the energy. And then when you need to, you just exhale and let the breath go. Softly release the mudra. Hands might come to rest on the tops of the thighs. Chin lifts slightly, and just notice what you notice. When you're ready, you'll make your way to your back for Shavasana. If there's anything you feel like you need to do en route, by all means do that. If you feel like you need to cover the body, by all means do that. If you're also feeling a lot of energy, Paschimottanasana might feel really nice to you afterwards. It's a different Kriya, but based along the similar thing. Just holding it. And you'll make your way there, wherever you're going, and you'll pause and you'll breathe. If you have taken Paschimottanasana, allow yourself to soften. If you've taken anything else, allow yourself to soften. Every inhalation invites softness, and every exhalation releases into that softness. So those in Paschimottanasana, this one is said in particular, this Kriya that you're doing, but just relaxing into it, is balancing out your apana and prana. So apana, the downward releasing breath. The prana is what's allowing inspiration, allowing life. It often seems that to see the inner radiance of things, we do have to let some things go as we welcome other things in. Awesome. And if you're still in Paschimottanasana, gently release your feet and start to come out. Take a moment to sit tall and just experience whatever you're noticing. And then when you're ready, you'll meet everyone or find your way to your Shavasana. You might even stay in a seated meditation if that's where you want to be. Great. Wherever you happen to have found yourselves, I invite you to make sure that you're comfortable and not so that you can check out. We don't want to get comfortable necessarily so that we can check out, but so that we can check in, so we can be more aware of the subtleties that are happening moment by moment and breath by breath. So we can become more aware of the things that we can let go of, so that we can allow other things to come in. And I'll just leave you here with you for the next few moments, the next few breath cycles, and I'll let you know when it's time to come out. Return your awareness to your breath. Take a moment to just check in. Notice if there's any part of you longing to linger where you are, and if so, by all means, stay as you are. When you're ready, you'll allow small, gentle movement to enter into your form in whatever way feels good to you. Again, if you're in stillness, stay as long as you'd like. If you're in movement, you'll start to make your way to one of your sides and pause there for a few breaths. From there, roll your chest more towards the floor. Press into your top hand and bring your spine to vertical. When you are vertical, I'd encourage you to sit on something, whether it's a block or a blanket or a pillow. And then allow the gaze to either remain inward or softly resting on the floor. Sit as tall as you can through your spine. Yep. Rest the hands wherever is comfortable for you so that your heart remains open. As you're here for these final few moments and final few breaths, the invitation, as always, is to notice what you notice, to notice what allows you to show up in the world as your bright, beautiful self without needing to be distracted, without worry, without fear. And when we can show up in that present state, I think it allows us more easily to see the inner beauty with all things. We'll go ahead and complete our practice with the collective breath, followed by a collective Om. Guide your hands to Heart Center Anjali Mudra. Press the palms into each other. Receive the weight of your thumbs into your sternum. Press your sternum into your thumbs. Draw the shoulder blades up, back, and down. And then see if you can find that slight retraction of your hyoid bone for Jalandhara Bandha. Gently exhale all the breath from your mouth. Take a big breath in. Big breath out. Inhale for Om. Join if you'd like. Om. Lower your chin towards your chest. Draw your thumbs to your third eye. May our thoughts be clear. Draw your thumbs to your lips. May our words be kind. And draw your thumbs to your heart center. May our hearts be open. The light, the breath, that guide within me, that inner beauty, salutes the light, the breath, the guide, and the inner beauty within each of you. Namaste.